everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCulla here, and we're talking Lafourche Parish Schools. Superintendent Jarod is here. Hey, thanks for coming in. It's probably your only break time. I know you don't even get a break time. I'm sure you're year round, but it's a calm before the storm a little bit. I guess August 2nd for teachers, August 5th for students. So maybe a little bit of time to catch your breath, hopefully, before the school year?
A little bit. We had all our principals in last week, and everybody is busy making plans, for the leaders in the school system and the schools. It is the calm before the storm, but this is when all the plans, all the schedules, and all the work that has to happen to make sure the doors, when they open, that we're ready to receive students. That's when it happens right now.
Yeah. Now, you had, a couple of thousand that actually went through the summer program. So that was a very successful program.
We did. We're really happy with the results we got from our summer program, from the levels of the numbers of kids that participated, and how much fun they had, and how much we were able to teach them, and how much more prepared they're going to be for that next year.
We thought we were like, I was about to ask you, do you think everybody will feel like it's, hey, we're finally done with this, let's go back to school? And because that's what summer almost felt like.
It did.
Hey, we kind of went over a hurdle and we're ready to go. But as we say that,
it did.
We got this little Delta variant. We got a COVID that's coming up again. Does that change the outlook? I mean, you're ready. You got to go one way or the other, right?
Yeah. In short, yes, it does change. It changes the outlook. It's not going to change our plan dramatically. We were able to get through the summer program, and right as it was closing up, right as we were finishing up, we had some COVID cases among students and faculty members that popped up, and then we start hearing from the people in the Department of Health this Delta variant, right? This new thing, right? And how contagious it is. Yeah. And so we're working closely with them to figure out what that's going to mean for us. But right now we're very optimistic that we're going to have a school year that, like I said the last time I was here, that more closely replicates something we did prior to COVID than COVID, but there's still some things that are obviously going to have to happen to keep our doors open, because that's what we're committed to this year. Right. In-person learning every day for all kids. That's our number one commitment.
Right. Now, we got a joker in our deck this year, though. We can play the vaccine card.
That is correct.
So, obviously, it's 12 years old now. But most of our teachers that might be at risk, that, I know in a lot of, not around here, but in Chicago, Los Angeles, school teachers didn't want to go back. They didn't have a vaccine. But now you have a vaccine, 12 and up right now, and they're hoping to get it as for lower students' ages for vaccine too. Is that going to make a difference for people being vaccinated, and where the protocols fall?
So the protocols for vaccinated individuals and non-vaccinated individuals are not the same. Specifically as it relates to identifying close contacts and the quarantining measures that are in effect. So if you and I were to get much closer than we are now, and we were to have a 20-minute conversation, we would be in close contact, which means if I wasn't vaccinated, I would have to follow the quarantining protocols, which for students and employees, right now it means you have to stay out of the school system for 10 days. On the 5th day, you can test, and if you test negative, you can return after 7 days. The golden standard, as they call it, the golden, the ideal quarantining time period is 14 days. So they tell you to monitor your symptoms for 14 days. But you can actually return to the school setting after 10 days without a test, after 7 days with a test on the 5th day, unless you're vaccinated. If you're vaccinated and you're a close contact, you do not have to quarantine. But what we learned this morning, talking to Dr. Chip Riggins with Region 3, his strong recommendation, and what the Department of Health folks are saying, look, if you have somebody that's identified as a close contact, in that 14-day window, if they do return to school before that 14-day window was up, right? So if you don't get tested and it's day 11, they're going to recommend that those folks wear a mask. And the same for vaccinated individuals. And it was the first time that I had been given a recommendation for vaccinated individuals to wear a mask, but it is in light of the fact that they're seeing vaccinated individuals testing positive for coronavirus with these breakthrough instances. So the recommendation is, look, if they're close contacts and they're vaccinated, they can stay at work. but strongly recommend that they wear a mask, because if they do result in a positive infection, it would be limited to just them, because the concept is that the mask would help to deter the spread inside of a school. So we're amending our guidance to reflect that, but we're very optimistic that we can keep our doors open. As I said, that's our goal, keep the kids in school.
And so are you requiring a mask?
No, the strong recommendation for all unvaccinated individuals is to wear a mask. But we're not going to require every individual walking through our doors to wear a mask. Following the CDC guidelines, of strongly encourage and recommend it.
Right, and like I said, hopefully the vaccine will go lower. We can get everybody vaccinated, although our numbers aren't great on vaccinated, even for people that are eligible right
now. They're
not. You know, it is weird. You know, we talked about it earlier, wearing a mask, the stigma, just you know, being able to talk to people, being able to read lips, facial expressions.
Yeah.
It would be important to get back to teaching and learning without one.
It is. 2 million years of evolution, we've been looking at people's faces as a means by which we communicate, and that's not lost on children, right? They want to see their teachers' faces. Teachers want to see the children's faces. Children want to see other children's faces. So we know that we want to live in a world without masks, but we have to live in a world without threat of COVID as well. So that's the balancing act.
Yeah. We could do a little better in getting vaccinated around this area. We were just talking, our numbers are not great. What about virtual school learning, or is that an option this year for folks? I guess last year was either or you had to declare one or the other.
That's right.
What's this year going into?
So families that want their children to participate in our virtual learning program, the window to qualify actually closed already. We had an application window for families that wanted to enroll, and there had to be a medical requirement. So we have a very small number of kids that are going to be in a virtual program this year. Now, Lafourche Parish is different in that we also have a virtual charter school that exists within our parish. It's a well-run school. Miss Julie Bourgeois, the principal there, does a good job. So students have had an option for virtual learning in Lafourche for many years. Last year that was expanded, of course, because of COVID. This year it's being greatly restricted. And again, it has to have a medical reason associated with going virtual this year, unless you're enrolled in our Virtual Academy of Lafourche, which is our charter school.
Right. Any idea how many students you had virtually last year?
Yes. So we had more than 2,000 students in our virtual program. Look,
out of how many?
We have 14,000 students.
Wow.
So you're talking about 1/7 our population was learning in a pure virtual setting for the entire school year. That's a significant number of children
13,
that will be
14%.
getting back. Yeah.
So that is big, and that's good that they'll be getting back. And I think now the studies also show that in-person learning is much more effective than the virtual.
Absolutely. When I'm presenting to my board tomorrow night, our school board is going to have a special board meeting tomorrow night where we adopt our return to school plan. And in the preamble of the CDC's guidelines, one of the first statements they say is in-person learning is where children should be. Mm-hmm. And so we developed all of our plans around that philosophy. We want our kids in class, and we want them to be learning with their peers, and we want them to be experiencing an in-person learning setting. So everything that follows is to make sure that stays in place, because that's what we believe is in their best interest as well.
Yeah, I know that this is, extracurricular activity, but football, gatherings, bands, all of that brings people together. So is any changes to where the protocols are this year?
From a normal year, the biggest change would be pep rallies. I believe that our high schools are going to plan to do those outdoors when feasible. And by when feasible,
right,
as a default, they're going to be outdoors. But everything else is going to look like, our plan is for it to look like a normal school year. And I keep emphasizing our plan because outbreaks are going to happen. Right. I'm not so silly as to think that we're not going to have some folks test positive. We had a school last year that had issues around homecoming because some folks on the court tested positive. Those things may happen again. We certainly hope that they don't, but they will, and they're likely going to impact us. But our plan today is to have football games, basketball games, and even our dances as scheduled on campus so that our kids can have a full school experience. It's obviously past time to get back to normal. And what we're going to do to mitigate those activities is follow a strict quarantining protocol to make sure that anybody who has symptoms or was exposed to somebody who has symptoms gets removed for a period of time, that they can make sure that they're healthy and then get them back into that environment.
Right. 2021's class did okay. That poor 2020 class, they lost their whole senior year, their proms, and they just canceled everything, and then graduations, and then they go freshmen in college and they can't do it. So I feel bad for those kids, and you're right. If we can get back to some kind of normalcy and do things outside, I don't even know if y'all can eat outside, cafeteria stuff, do more classrooms outside. That would probably be a way to just kind of do some of those things.
It is. The unfortunate thing about living in South Louisiana, though, is we have wonderful culture, we have terrible weather. And so outdoor events, they're always hit or miss. We had our graduations outdoors, and a couple of them were able to pull it off, and it was beautiful, but some of them just impossible.
Well, you're right about that. So what about like temperature checks? Is that going to be a thing when you walk into the doors of events or walk into the doors of schools? Are you going to be checked every day?
No. If you're a visitor to the school, what we're asking is that folks do a self-check at their home. Don't come to the school with symptoms. Don't send your children to school with symptoms. And, also don't medicate yourself out of symptoms and send your kids to school. You probably grew up the same way I did, right? If you're just feeling sort of off, here's some Tylenol and some medication and send you on your way. We would not want families to do that right now, because it could be COVID related, and we certainly don't want to have an outbreak because of that.
Right. Yeah, got to keep that perfect attendance going. So, we all know about those. Capacity limits. Everything's wide open?
Everything is wide open. So right now the fire marshal and the state has us, and the way that the state defines our capacity is to the extent that you can social distance. So we're going to look at all of these events, but I don't anticipate any capacity restrictions that are going to be directly linked to coronavirus.
Yeah, no, that's good. So let's talk about schools and some positive stuff, right? I mean, I think everybody's going to be rip-roaring and have a good attitude. And look, we all been through it. So, I don't think we're catching anybody off guard with any of these regulations. I'm sure.
Correct.
What about the teachers and the staff? Are they ready to go?
Absolutely. I think coming off of a very successful summer program, our teachers are ready to get back in the classroom and ready to get back to doing a lot of the things that we weren't able to do because of the pandemic. Open houses in person, having parent nights and other activities, awards and celebrations for our kids. We're eager to get back to all those things, and we're hoping to do that this year.
Yeah, look, we might see record growth in performance, right?
We may.
For sure. Jarod, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more Bayou Timer right after this.